Hello everyone, my name is Sam-the-tutor and welcome to yet another video on how to develop applications on the ICP blockchain. So in this video we are going to look at how to integrate the ICP ledger and ICP Index canisters in a React front-end project. So basically the ICP ledger holds the accounts and transactions for the ICP native token, which is the ICP token, and the ICP index canister can be used to get the transaction history for any account from the ICP ledger. And so without wasting time, let's begin. For this project, I will be using a template. So the template is configured with the internet identity, so we won't have to spend a lot of time trying to figure out how to configure the internet identity. And so all we need to do is go to the GitHub repo that I'm going to use, and I will leave the link in the description of the YouTube video. So I already have my browser open, and all I will have to do is click on a new instance and then go to the GitHub. I'll go to my GitHub repo, then I will click on repositories, and that's where we'll get the template from. And so this is the template that we're going to use, and as I've already told you, it already has the internet identity setup, and also it is a React template, and so we won't have to waste a lot of time with those configurations. So I will just copy its link, open up my terminal, and clone it on my computer. So once the cloning is complete, we will have to navigate the project folder by typing cd and then the project name. And once we are in the project folder, we can open the whole project in VS Code. You can use any other code editor of your choice, but I'm going to use VS Code. And so now we have our project open. So the first thing that we have to do is install the dependencies. And to install the dependencies, I will have to open up my terminal and then type in npm install, and then the dependencies will be installed for our project. Now that the dependencies have been installed, the next thing that we have to do is start the replica by typing dfx start, and we have to use the flag for background, so as it keeps on running in the background. And once the replica is up and running, all we have to do now is open up another terminal instance, and let's deploy the whole project. So this is the boilerplate project, but we have to first deploy it to see what we have at hand. And as you can see, it's creating the frontend canister and then the internet identity canister that we are going to use in our project to log in and log out, to let the user log in and log out of the project. And so it will take a couple of seconds or minutes to deploy the whole project, but once the project is deployed, we will be good to go. So now the project is deployed, and all we have to do is clear the screen, and let's start the development server by typing npm start. And yeah, so here is the link for our project, and let's open it in a browser to see what we have for the project. And as you can see, it presents as a button to allow the user to log in using their identity. And I will click on that button and click on 10,000. As you can see, I've not created the anchor for this project since it is the first time I'm trying to log in. And so I will click on more options, create new, and then create passkey. Then they will present me with a number which is A. Then I will click next. So here I'm trying to set up my anchor for this project. It's the one that I will be using, and as you can see, the anchor has been completely configured for my project, and I've automatically been logged in to this project. And on the screen you can see my principal ID and a button to log out. So I can log out, and again if I try to log in now, you will see that I'm allowed to log in with the 10,000 anchor ID. And so this is the whole template. This is how the template works. Basically, it's like you have a button for logging in and a button for logging out. And the reason as to why we want to use the reason as to why we used a template with the internet identity is because the ICP ledger canister that we use does not allow the anonymous principal IDs to access most of its functionality. So you need to be a logged in user to access the some of the functionalities of the ICP ledger canister. And now that we have our project up and running, the next thing is to configure the ICP ledger on our machine so as we can interact with it. And so I will go back to my VS Code, and so to install the ICP ledger, there is already a guide by Definited that we're going to use. And so I will just type in internetidentcomputer.org, and I will navigate to the guide that allows us to install the ICP ledger on our local machine. And as you can see, here is the guide, and it takes you through the different steps on how to configure. So the first one is to modify the dfx.json file to include this the ICP ledger canister. So I will copy it, go back to my VS Code and open the dfx.json, and I will paste it right after the front-end canister. So once I've done that, I will go back to the website and check out the next code to run. And so here they're saying you have to start a replica clean with the flags background and clean, and I think I already started my replica, so I don't have to worry about that. And the next step is to create a new identity and store its ledger account. And I will just copy this and paste it in my VS Code. So I'll open up a new terminal, paste this, and I'm good to go. Going back to the browser, I copy the next command, I again paste it inside here, and then so now I've reached the step of installing the ledger canister. So basically, in the previous steps, we configured the Minter account ID and also the default account ID, and here we are trying to set the minting account as the mint account ID, and then we shall mint the initial number of tokens to the default account ID that we set up in the previous step. So I will copy this code and I will go back to my VS Code. I will just paste it and click on run. So as you can see, they're saying the canister with that ID has already been created. I was, for this video I was interacting with the ICP index, and that's why they are bringing in this error, but we can just solve it by starting the replica with the background and at the same time the clean flag, and we should resolve that error if we try to run that code again. So I'll just clear the terminal again. I will paste the code and I should be good to go. And so as you can see, the ICP Ledger canister is being installed, and that's what we want for the ICP Ledger canister to be installed. So now that we have our ledger installed, as you can see, we have the link. If I click on this link, it will open up in a browser, and this is for the ICP Ledger canister. So it shows you the different methods and functions that the Ledger canister provides, and we shall interact with some of these at a later stage. So now that we have installed our ICP canister on our local machine, the next step is to install the package that we're going to use in our front end to interact with ICP Ledger. And I will open up my browser, click on new, and then I'll just type in the Definity slash Ledger ICP npm package, and we should be good to go. And so as you can see, I will click on this first link, and this is the package that we're going to use in order to interact with our ICP Ledger canister from the front end. And so as you can see, they're trying to describe what this package is all about. They also have a guide on how to install, how to use, and all the features that the package provides. So the first thing is that we're going to install it. So I will just paste this in my terminal, and we will install that package. So here it's showing me an error. It's as if it is the dependencies are conflicting. So I will just use the false flag, and it should be able to resolve this error. So now the Ledger ICP package has been installed, and let's go back and see what they want us to install next. So they're saying that the Ledger ICP package depends on these peer dependencies, so we also have to install them. And so we just copy and paste them here, and for some reason I will also use the same false flag, and yeah, that's what I will use. So we have installed the Ledger ICP package, and also the dependencies that it depends on, obviously. And so now it's high time we started configuring our front end canister, so as we can interact with our ICP Ledger canister from the front end. So I will just open up my source folder. I will open up the components folder, and then I will create a new file and call it ledger.jsx, since this is a JavaScript project. So I have some package actually that I use, but anyway, we can first import. I have some shorthand that I use, and it gives me like a template code for every page that I want. And so as you can see, if I click on it, it just imports the React from the React package, and also it creates like a function for me. And so the first thing we would want to import, so before we start actually the importing and stuff like that, so the major file that I wanted to show you is this use auth client.js6. So basically this is where all our configurations for the internet identity are found. So as you can see, we are using React, the use state hooks and the use effect hooks to a bunch of like auth client from the Definity auth client. And so we are basically, and actually we are returning a couple of methods, the is authenticated, login, logout, the auth client, the identity, and the principal, and then a couple of using the use context hook from React. And so we shall be using some of these project, like the login. Actually we are already using the login and the logout, and so we shall use more of these in our project. And so if we go back to our ledger.jsx file, we will have to import, first of all, we will import the use effect and the use state from React. And then the other thing that we will import the ledger canister. As you can see, they already show you which package contains that, and that's the ledger ICP package. So we just press enter, and then the account identifier, which is also from the same package. And the other thing that we want to import is we shall import the use auth from the use auth client file, and this will help us to interact with our identity from our project. And then the last import, it will be importing the principal from the Definity / principal package, and we are good to go. So inside our component, I will just now have to use all the imports that we've imported, but the first one is we are going to import some things from the use auth client. And what do we need from the use auth client is we need first of all the identity, and the other one is the logout, or anyway, also need the principal. And those are the three major things that we want as of now. Then we will create a new state that and we'll call it the ICP ledger. This will hold the state, we will update it to hold the ICP ledger actor once we've created it. And so we're going to use the use state hook from React. So we'll create another state, and we will call it balance, maybe bar, and then we just say balance. So still we will use the use state hook from React, and we are good to go. The last one will be the last state will be the hex ID. Then we shall also, its initial value will be null, and we shall update all these states after we have done a couple of things. And so now that we have all our states in place, the next thing is to set up the use effect from React. And so we will just run it once after the component is mounted on the page. And so now that we have our states set up and the use effect is in place, now it's time. Now we started, we need to get a way of how to set up actually everything, so as we can interact with the ICP ledger that we set up on our local machine. And so I will create a separate function, and I will call it setup ledger, and it's where I will do most of my configurations. And yes, so now that we have the function in place, I want actually this function to run inside the use effect once every time the component loads. So what are we going to put inside the function? The first thing is so what are we going to put inside the function? So the first thing is we will need to create an agent, and after creating the agent, we shall use the agent actually is required for you to set up the ledger canister. And so the first instance is create the agent, and yeah, so we shall just say constant agent is equal to, and we will use the create agent that we imported from the definite.utils, and this agent takes in actually an object, and the object contains the identity. Yes, and then the other one is the host. So but right now we don't have the host, and so I will just come up here and create a variable called host. And so what does the host mean? Actually, the host is like the internet identity provider that the project will be using, and it's different on the local host, and also it's different on the mainnet. And so on the mainnet is as I told you, it's different, and also on the local host it's different. And so we will get the one for the local host, and all you have to do is click on the use auth client, and as you can see, these are the two hosts that on the mainnet it is always this, and then on the local host then it is this. So I will copy this since we are running our project on the local host, and I will come back to the project and paste it there. So now I can use this variable as my host. And once the agent is created, The next thing is actually to create the ledger. And so the ledger takes in anyway, before that, let me first write the comment, create the ledger using the ledger canister. So I'll just say constant ledger is equal to ledger canister, the one that we imported. The one that we imported right here is the same that we are using, and it provides different methods that we can use, but we will use the one for create, as you can see it here. So it also takes in an argument, and rather it takes in an object, and the object contains the agent that we created in the previous step, and also the canister ID, which is the canister of the ICP ledger. But we don't have the canister ID of the ICP ledger defined anywhere, so I will also need to define it, I think, up here. So I'll just say constant ICP ledger ID, which is equal to, where can we get the ledger ID? So we can just go to the dfx.json, and we will copy this, since it is the same on our localhost as the ID on the mainnet. So I will paste it in here, then copy this and paste it here. So now if we have now that we have our ledger up and running, the last thing is, remember we created this state, the ICP ledger state. So the last step is to update this state to hold the currently created ICP ledger. So I'll just update this state, and maybe console.log ICP ledger created successfully. So now that is it for this function, for the setup ledger function. So it will basically run once after the page is set up. It will create the agent, create the ledger, and then update the state, the ICP ledger state, to hold the currently created ledger. And I will use this state in order to call the different methods on the ICP canister. And so at this time there are no errors in our code. It's still a little the other thing, you could wrap everything in a try and catch, so as you can debug the errors very well, and that is if the code is a lot. But since the code is not yet a lot, we can just leave it out. But it's a good practice to always put error handling in mind, so as you don't spend a lot of time trying to figure out which one is wrong. So now that we have the setup ledger canister, setup ledger function set up, we will just go to the next step, which is now we will start writing functions to access the ICP ledger canister. And as in our previous, if you go back to the ledger canister, you can see it has a bunch of functions, and you can check the account balance. You can check the account balance from DFX, the archives, the decimals, the ICRC1 balance off, the decimals, the ICRC fee, like all the functions. And so The next step is to create some functions that utilize some of this functionality from the ICP ledger. And so the next function that we will write, if I go back to my my editor, it will be we'll just write a function to get the balance of an account from the ICP ledger. So we'll just put a sync function, get balance, takes in no argument, and then we will just can just maybe wrap everything in a try and catch, so as you can handle errors very well. Error in getting the balances, so just put error. So in our try and catch, in the try here, we will just declare a constant, which is results. And what do we want? We shall use an await. Then remember, whenever our component is loaded on the screen, this function runs and it sets up our ICP ledger state to the canister that we've created, and now I can use it in this other function. So I will just put the ICP ledger, since now it is updated with the created ledger, then dot, and then I will just say account balance, which is one of the functionality that it provides. And if you want to see the functionality, you will just come to the browser, then to this ledger ICP, and then if you scroll, you'll see that it has this account identifier, but that's not what we want. We want this ledger canister. It's the one that we will use to create the actor. Then under the ledger canister, you see it has create, which if you already used, then the account balance, the transaction fee, the transfer, then the ICRC1 transfer. So we already used this method, so we're also now going to use this. And if you navigate account balance, you just click on here, then it takes you on this. So we'll see that it takes in an object that has the account identifier, and then the other key is the certified. So if we go back to our VS Code, just takes in an argument, then the first one is certified, which will be false for now. If you use false, this call will be like a query call, but if you use true, it will be like an update call. And so the other one was the account identifier, which is down here, and it takes in a type of account identifier type, like the argument it takes in, or the parameter that it takes in, it is of this type. And so, but remember, we imported this one from the ICP ledger. So if we go and navigate back, scroll up, you will see that this method has a couple of other methods that we can call on it. So from hex, from principal, to like different methods. So actually you can we shall use this from hex, and so let me show you what I mean. So we will before we create this here, we shall come and say constant account, and then we shall use the account identifier. Then account identifier, it's here. Then from hex, then here we need to supply the account in a hexadecimal format, in a hex format. And so we can just grab the account ID in the hex format. So I just type ledger account ID, and then I will get this. So this is the hex format that they want. So I will come and paste it here. You can use the dot from principal, so that means you will have to supply the principal, which is here, which is that, and you can see the principal and the hex format, they are kind of different. And so once I've converted this to account identifier, so I will use the account on this. And yes, so that will complete our account balance method, and the result that we will receive, it will be like a big number, and so we will have to convert it into the normal number. And finally we will have to update this state, the balance state, in order to get to reflect the new balance that we've received from the ICP ledger. And so I will just type in set bar, and then it will be results. But then these results, as I told you, this is a big int, and so we have to convert into a number. You just do that and it will be converted into a number. So we will tell us also console.log, then just say maybe ICP balance and results. So now that completes our get balance function. So the last function that we will write, it will be the one to convert the account identifier, actually to convert the principal of the logged in user to an account identifier. As I told you, like, you actually convert this to this, but from our code. So I will declare another function, and then I will say maybe principal to account. It takes in no argument, and we shall just write declare account will be, now we use the account identifier, then identifier, then from principal now, because we want to convert principal to an account identifier in hex format. So it takes in an object, then we have to specify the principal, and then we will use the principal that we imported from the use auth, which is here. So I will just copy this, so paste it here, a comma, and then you can see it takes in the principal and also the sub account. But for this case we don't have the sub account, so I will just write the sub account as null or undefined. So just put undefined, and then yeah, I'll be good to go. So now we have this principal in the account identifier format. Now we have to change it to a hex format, and if you put a dot, you will see that there are more methods that you can use, and we will use this and put a parenthesis. So now the last thing we would want to do is to set the hex ID as this, and then console.log ICP ID in X format, then yeah, we would be good to go. So that one is also complete. And now, so we have actually 3 functions: the principal to accounts. This converts the principal to an account ID in X format. Then the get balance, and also now the setup ledger. So this will run once after every component rendering. And so now that we have these functions, the next step is to create some kind of a front end from where we will interact with these functions. We will create like a simple front end, put in some buttons, and start interacting with these functions. And so I will just delete this. I put a parenthesis, and then put a div, then another div. So inside that div, maybe I can put an h2, and then I will just put ICP ledger walkthrough or tutorial. And so once I've done that, I will just come down here and maybe, so actually we will create 3 buttons. And so whenever 2 buttons actually, if you click on one, you will display, we will call this function get balance. The other one will be used to call this function principal to account. And so if I can just let me just, even if I just put it here, the button, then I'll just say maybe get balance, and then I will copy and paste this. Then I will say principal account. So this first button, when you click on it, it should call the get balance function. And the second button, if you click on it, it should call the principal to account function. So let's load now our front end again. Let me see if the server is still running, and I'll go back to here and see if it is working. So we will again log in with our identity, and as you can see, they are showing us that there is an error. So the way we can remove this error is to deploy defects deploy, and yeah, let's wait for the project to be deployed. Now that the project is deployed, I will have to stop my development server and start it again, so as we get a fresh version, if I can say that. So I will just close this, refresh this, and hopefully it works. So click on this, click on this, they're showing me. So I'll just create a new anchor and I'll just press A. Then yeah, so I've saved it, continue. Then I should be logged in to this. So I will log out, log in. All right. So yes, now our front end is again working, but one thing that we forgot to do is link up our ledger canister and the login our ledger page and the login page, so as they can communicate together. So I will first import ledger from ledger, then I will edit this so as whenever the user is authenticated, instead of showing this we can actually, instead of showing this, we will just add in the ledger page, so as we will display more. Hopefully it works. I'm already seeing some errors right here, so hopefully, let me see, let me open up my Windows. So it's misbehaving, so they're saying setup ledger has already been declared. So let me go to the ledger and see what they are trying to mean. And ledger, then login. All right, so here they are telling me that setup ledger has been declared. So all I have to do is delete, rename this actually, and I'll come here and paste it, and yeah, the error should go away, maybe. So let's try to refresh. All right, so if we log in to our project, at least we should see more functionality if all is well. And as you can see, we have now the content from the ledger page being displayed. And so I will open up my terminal right here. So, and I will click on get balance. As you see, error 2 is undefined, and yes, so if I click on this, for it works. You can see we are logging the account ID in hex format, but for the balances it is refusing. And so let me see where the issue is, and maybe we can figure it out. So coming back to the ledger, the get balance function, we may have a problem here where sometimes I figured out where the problem was actually. So basically I just, if I'm not mistaken, it should be a small letter, included the await on so this create ledger page method, and so that's why it was misbehaving. Get balance, but now the issue is resolved, not a function. We can continue. So if you go back to our browser, we are facing, you will see that principal to hex format is working, and also the get balance is working out. And as you can see, this is a big number, and see where the errors are coming from. The account we are checking is the one that received all the ICP tokens when we were deploying the ICP canister. And so that means that our code is working and we are now able to interact with the ICP ledger from our front-end canister. And so if we go back to our front end, as you can see, it's a bit of not designed a bit. So I'll just go back, write some more HTML and CSS code, and then I'll be back with a few changes. Alright, so now I've added in some CSS to the front end, and as you can see, the project now looks a bit clear and neat. And you can click on logout, log in again, click on 10,000, remind me later. And now so we get the same functionality of get balance, which will be around 100 million sort of, and then the principal to account identifier in hex format, which is still the same. So now that is it basically on how you can you interact with the ICP ledger from the front-end front-end code. So all you have to do is install the ledger ICP and then do a few configurations and you'll be good to go. And so now that is done, the next part is to learn how to interact with the ICP Index canister still from the front end. And so the ICP Index canister allows us to fetch the transaction history from the ICP ledger for any account ID. And we're also going to see how you can configure it and then interact with it from the front end. And so the first thing that we have to do, of course, is look for a guide that will help us to install the ICP ledger, rather the ICP Index canister in our code. So I will just go back to my browser and click on this internetcomputer.org. Then down here we'll see ICP Index local setup. So this is the guide that we're going to use. And we just scroll. I'm interested in this part where they show you how to configure it in the dfx.json. So I will copy this and come back to my terminal, open the dfx.json and look for where the front end canister configuration must end. Then paste the configurations for the ICP Index canister. Go back to my code in the browser. Then I will now copy this and paste it in the terminal. So I will paste it here, and then there's the code. Actually, it will deploy the ICP Index canister with a specific ID as that as the ICP Index canister on the mainnet. And then here we are telling it that the canister ID for the ledger canister is this. So I'll just press enter and leave it to install the index canister. And so that was very quick. And now all we have to do is now move on to the next step on how to configure the index canister. So now we have one problem in that this index canister doesn't have a package that allows you to configure it and install and interact with it from the front end. So we will actually do most of the work by ourselves, all the configurations. But then so the first thing is I will have to first check out the did, or like the functions that this ICP index canister provides. So I will I've copied the canister ID. I'll open up a new browser, then I'll just type the dashboard. So once it has loaded, I will paste it in. That's the canister of the index. So I want to look at the functionality that this canister provides. And so as you can see, you can get the account identifier balance, you can get transactions, account identifier transactions, and this is the method, the function that we're going to, use. You can get blocks, HTTP request, ledger ID, stuff like that. But I'm interested in this did file. As you can see, this is like a descriptive. It's actually an ideal content for the ICP index canister. So this describes all the methods that the ICP index canister provides, and so you can get this same did file in Motoko, in Rust, and JavaScript and TypeScript. And so we are interested in the JavaScript since it's the one that we're using in our front end. So I'll switch to JavaScript. I will just click on copy. So once I've copied the did file or the IDL, I will move back to my VS Code, and in my components folder, create a new file. I will name it index.did.js, and I will just paste in this whole code that I've copied. So once that one is done, I will have to create another file and call it the create actor.js. So this file will help us to create the actor for our index canister. And so I will just improvise. And what I mean by that is I won't write the whole code for this. I will just move somewhere. Where is it? I'll just I will just actually copy and paste the code, and then I will explain what that code does. So I've copied the code, and so all I have to do is paste it, and then I will explain what it does. So basically we're importing the actor and the HTTP agent from the Definity agent package. Then we are importing the IDL factory from the index.did.js file that we created. And so this is like a descriptive it's an interface that describes all the functionalities that the ICP index canister will provide. And so as you can see, we export a create actor method that takes in the canister ID and some options, and then the function basically creates an agent and stuff like that. If it's on the IC, it checks. If it's not on the mainnet, then it creates the fetch root. It calls the fetch root key on that agent, and finally actually it returns an actor created for us using the IDL factory that we created, the agent, and then the canister ID that we will supply. And so we will use this to create the actor for the ICP index from our ledger.jsx file. So I will close some of these since I no longer need them. Then I will remain with the ledger.jsx file open. So the first thing I will want to import here on top is the create actor method, that create actor. think it should be in curly brackets. So if I remove an R, then anyway, so from create actor, this one. All right, so now that we have that one imported, it's time now to use it in our project. But before that, I will create a new state. I will name it index canister, and then set index canister, which will be equal to use state. Then it will start as null. Then the other thing I want is to create a new variable to hold the ID of the index canister, which is this, and I can just come the dfx.json and copy this, the canister ID for the index canister. So I'll just paste it here, then save, and hopefully everything is set up. So in our setup function, I would add some code right here. So this code will help us to create an actor for the index canister. Index actor is equal to create actor, the one that we imported. Then it takes in the canister ID. So but our canister ID is this, so I'll just copy it and paste it here. Then the other one is it takes in, if you come here, it takes in the canister ID which we have supplied, and then an options, the other argument is options, which is like an object. So I will come here, then open up the the curly brackets and do agent options, which is, and then semicolon, rather colon, full colons, and then curly brackets again, and then I'll just put the identity. So if you can look at this, this is where actually the whole stuff is done. If there is no agent in the options, then create an HTTP agent using the agent options provided, and the agent options that we are providing, it's the identity from the use auth, and so that's what will be used to create the agent, and then the agent will be used to create the actor. And so once the index actor is created, all we have to do is set up index canister with the index canister that we will have created, and we just console.log index canister created successfully. All right, so hopefully that one is done. So all right, let me check if everything is okay. Okay, so now that we've set up the index canister, now we can use it actually in our project. So I'll just scroll down here, create a function, and I will call it get transactions. So this function will retrieve the transaction history for a specific account ID. And yeah, so right now I forgot to put anyway, I can just put get transactions for a specific account ID. And then inside the function, all we have to do is, say results is equal to await, then index canister dot get, if you can check back on this index canister, you see that it has this function. It's the one we're going to use. So just delete this, put this, and actually it takes in an object which I will open here. Then the object has three things: the start, then the maximum results, just put 20, and then the account identifier. So the account identifier, we shall just copy one from, we shall just copy this. Okay, so copy this and just paste it right here. So now that is complete. So we will have to check if this function is like it has returned results, and how we check that is by looking for this okay in the results. And let me show you what I mean. So this account identifier, it has it takes in the maximum results, the start, and the account identifier. Then it returns either the okay or the error. Where is the error? Where? Okay, it either returns okay, the error, or okay. So for us, what we are interested in is the okay side, and that's why we are saying if results dot okay. So meaning the results have some some transaction history. We shall just log those results. So results dot okay, then dot transactions. So transactions. So I can just put something here and say maybe ICP account ID transactions. So you will see that in the okay, it returns balance, then transactions, which is an array of whatever transaction, like the object that includes ID transaction, like stuff like that. And so that's what we're interested in. And yeah, so now this completes our code. Yeah, the function get transactions, but we just need to add a button to call it. And so we just copy one of these buttons and replicate it down here. And yeah, so we'll put get transactions. So if we click on this button, it should get transactions indeed. So hope everything is up and running. So do we have any errors? Hopefully not. So if I open my browser and click on this, I will have to log in again. Log in. Hopefully it works. It doesn't give me some errors. So this is the button for the get transactions. So hopefully it works. And so get balance is working. Principal to account is working now. This last one, it has refused, but I've seen where the error is. So we are missing out a G somewhere, which is here. So we just put it, save, and move back to the browser. Principal working, everything working. So now it should work. So as you can see, it has the array has one result, which is the ID is 0, the transaction created that memo, then it's a minting, you know, type, like the other time when we were minting the ICP, when we were deploying the ICP ledger, we minted, you know, 100 million tokens to this account. And so that's the only transaction history that we've been able to retrieve. And yeah, we can actually simulate more transactions so as to get more of this, more of the transactions in the history. And all you can do is, you know, go back to this, and I have a guide here that I'm using. So we just copy which one. So I'll copy this. This allows me to send ICP tokens from the terminal. And so just first clear, then I will paste this. So basically this sends some tokens, which is 20k, to this account identifier. So I'll just click enter, and hopefully it should run. So if I click it the second time, now I will change the amount to maybe 50k. Change to 50k, and again press enter. Now we should actually, if we go back to the browser, if we refresh, so get balance should work. As you can see, the amount has reduced and principal is already the same, but here we should get, I think, 3 transactions in the history, and as you can see, it's the same, and number 3. So we have this first one, which was a minting transaction that minted 100 million tokens, and the second one should actually be a transfer. Yes, which is, you know, transfer, and we're transferring how much? Should be 20k, which is here. And then the last one, you know, the latest one should be the one of 50k, which is also of type transfer. So this is the 50k, still the type is transfer. So as you can see now, you can access the ICP Index canister from the front end, and then you can even get the transaction history from the ICP ledger, all in the front end. And so we have not, you know, seen all the methods that the 2 different canisters provide, like what the ICP ledger provides. ICP ledger canister provides. These are way more methods that you can look at, and also for the ICP Index canister, it has other methods that we didn't look at, like status, ledger ID, or blocks. And so you can, you know, in your free time, check them out, you know, interact with them, so as you get familiar with the code. And so this brings us to the end of this video, and I hope you've learned something on how, you know, to, you know, set up the ICP Index canister and the ICP ledger canister in order to interact with them from the front end using React. And so this is it for this video, and see you in the next video.